Hey, I wanted to talk about some activities that we can do to incorporate the culture within your team in training environments. Fun is such a big aspect of the game, and that's why the players play it. It's because it's fun and they want to come back for it. So I really try to highlight that in almost every training session. Usually take about 10 minutes within the warm-up to do some sort of fun activity that might not even be soccer related. It might be tag, like snakes in the grass, or freeze tag. Tic-tac-toe is one that I do quite a bit. And other ways within the training environment that I try to bring out fun is maybe near the end of a training session, I try to step back a little bit as I coach. And I'm not coaching. What I'm doing is maybe I'm letting them play a little bit more free flow where I'm not freezing and stopping, letting them go for 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the training session where they can just live the game and have fun within the game. And in that time, I try to maybe make little jokes with each player, like, oh, they had a missed touch. Be like, oh, that's not what you wanted to do, but I know you got it on the next one. Or I'll bring a player across and just say, hey, why don't you try this move, especially if it's a player that I know wants to try moves, and to see if they can do it. And the challenge might be pretty fun to them. Another thing that's really important when bringing out the fun within activities or within the training environment is knowing the coach's tone of voice. Your tone of voice changes so many things. And if you're really down on players and your tone of voice is super negative, probably going to take out some of the fun of the training environment. But if you can keep a light atmosphere and a good bubbly voice almost and kind of joke around a little bit, that will change that, and players will probably have more fun within that training environment. Another thing that I like to do is try to bring out respect and compete within training environments. And respect is so simple to do in many ways by just, hey, make sure you high-five your opponents and your teammates and shake their hands. But you can get into the deeper discussions and discuss about asking your teammates to have specific conversations with each other as they come in. It's like, hey, what did you do today at lunch? Or was classes hard today? How'd you do on that math test? And just having that communication shows a little bit of respect from player to player. But there's also different ways that you can incorporate this as a coach. And one of the activities that I like to do from time to time is a compete session that involves placing players in leadership roles that they have to communicate with their teammates. And the best way to do this is by doing a day where maybe you're doing a tournament of styles, and you have at least 4 people to a team, and it's after every round, after every game, whether you win or lose, you have to turn around and say, hey, one of your players has to leave that team and you have to choose someone new. And this is going to create a really vulnerable environment for your players, because you're telling someone that they have to tell someone else that they're off the team, and then they have to choose someone else to come onto the team. And this can go really, really poorly if you don't help communicate with your team on what they should be looking to do and how they should be doing this. So one of the ways that I like to guide my players is I'll bring the leaders over before we even start and tell them, hey, you're going to have to tell someone that they can't be on your team anymore. Make sure that you do it in a respectful way that helps them get better, and not just saying, hey, you're not good enough, get off my team, because that's not the case. The way that I like to put it is make sure that you compliment them on something that they did well and what they brought to the team, whether it be energy or that they were positive or that they had fun. Bring something like that. And then incorporate, hey, this is why I'm not having you back on the team. Maybe it was that they weren't working hard enough. Or maybe it was that they didn't collect any passes, and every time they trapped the ball, it went too far away. But be specific on how you can help them. Say, hey, that might be how you're doing it now, but I guarantee you're going to focus on it in the next round, and then we're going to get you back on our team later. That type of communication can really help your players, one, as a leadership, but then it shows a lot of respect in a competitive environment. And like I said, that's a very vulnerable state you're placing your players in, so make sure that you help facilitate what kind of comments and communication can be done in that environment. And then there's another compete session that I really, really like to do, and it's super fun, and it's all individual based, and it can be turned into a team-based thing, but it's a compete session where it's mini tournament, and what you do is you start on 1v1 fields, and maybe you have 2 or 3 1v1 fields depending on the size of your team. And you do the first player to get 5 goals, doesn't have to do whatever a punishment might be. So typically I say I get maybe 3 players. Say first 3 players to get 5 goals don't have to do the sprints. And then all of a sudden they're competing with that training session to try to get their goals. And maybe round 2 I'll up it, say, hey, get teams of 2. So now it's you and a partner, and it's the first 3 teams to get 3 goals don't have to do the punishment, which might be burpees at that point in time. And I do this all the way throughout a training session or half a training session. I get up to about 3v3s, about as big as I go. But I really do find that it's a good way to get players to start wanting to win and showing that, and they get repetition within it. You can also incorporate specific things that you want to focus on within that training session. So if you're working on first defenders, you can incorporate that within that 1v1, those 2v2s, and those 3v3s. Pretty cool session to run, and you can see your players grow and see how much they want to compete more and more. One of the things to watch out for that is your tone of voice as a coach, to make sure that you're not making that a negative situation and a positive situation is, yeah, great job, you guys scored your goals, you don't have to do the punishment, and maybe get away from terms like punishment. So when the guys go up, it's like, yep, you didn't score your goals, that's right, this is an opportunity for you guys to get better, be more conditioned, because we're doing sprints.